fatality. I guess it had to be documented. No other accidents that we can really hear about in the mine, collapses or anything. Nothing that resulted in fatality. We do have a pneumatic air compressed machine, that jackhammer back there. We call it the Widowmaker. And the reason why we call it the Widowmaker is because of the lung disease and the silicosis. A lot of men used it without using any respiration. So again, we'll see a lot of 38 and 39-year-old men. It was consumption, whether it was tuberculosis or silicosis or whatever. A lot of imbibing too. So again, consumption was a good word to use for a generality of the early stage demise of the men around here. So typically the foreman would sit at a candlelight. This is mostly, we didn't have electricity, so you may have a candle here and you may have this candle. Those would be the only, and then you'd have the noise and the dust and the other candles going along in the early days of the mine. In order to pinch pennies, a foreman might sit in conditions like this when there wasn't a lot going on. So you'd have the backfill back here to your left where the wheelbarrow was, if you can remember, because you can't see it now. And then the ore car would pull right up next to me, emptied, after the backfill went out. Then it'd go under the stope there, the trap door would release. I know at least an ounce of gold is leaving here, 1 ton. So that 1 ton is pushed out. I tabulate that 1 ounce of gold. And I tabulate who is here and who is pushing the cart. Now, if gold was missing, or tools were missing, or somebody was accused of stealing, there was no judge and jury in Julian, California. They took you right out here on property and they shot you in the knee or they shot you in the elbow and they'd label you a thief and they'd send you back to town. That's if you made it. If you wanted real medical attention, you have to go to Ramona. That would be a 2 or 3 day ride. From there, you would never find a job in a mine again. You'd have a nice scar or a limp or a wonky elbow to tell everybody about. Typically, these men that did survive, and there weren't many of them, but the few that did, they would work in the sweatshops down in San Diego. That'd be the only work they could find, or they'd end up as the town drunk here in Julian or Ramona. But then again, you'll notice when we get out of here, even with the electricity, that our eyes are going to have to adjust to the sunlight. Can you imagine being here for 10 hours, 6 days a week, 60 hours a week in conditions like this? So again, we had silicosis issues. We had light sensitivity issues, all sorts of red, carbon monoxide poisoning, all those things.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this original candle wax?
It looks like it, maybe, yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yep. And there's a lot of stuff in here that you'll see. I'll show you a nice piece of copper as we exit from here too. That just blows my mind. Just to know that that's still in here. You have to do a little digging to get to it, but to know that much copper is still located in here. So again, that's our stope. We would not have had Navy stairs. We'd use a little step ladder and we'd scurry up that soft sand to the next level.
Oh. No wonder the guys were tiny.
Yeah, they had to be. They were made like trolls. Pac-Man.
They don't like trolls. Hey, I'm 5'1". Alright, I don't qualify as a troll.
You'd be hired up here though.
I'm officially a troll.
Either that or collecting money.
At 5'1", you have at least one qualification. And we already know that panning didn't work out for you, so you have to try your next job.
I'd be cleaning the guys' clothes.
That's
Collecting
right.
money at a bridge.
Laundry in the hotel. I think that's where I'd be too. Or a saloon keeper. I think that's good. I'd be far back at saloons.
Oh, that'd be fun.
So here we have a jump hole, right where this gentleman's standing. If you go in there, it'd be 4 to 5 men at a time during blasting. So you hear that shaft bell signals down there, 3, 2, 1. They would light that reed or a squib that we saw on the powder rinse board. That reed can be collected at our local creek. It's a willow reed. You basically hollow it out in 5-foot sections, and then you put black powder in it. In that black powder, then you dry the willow reed. 5 feet gives you 52 seconds per foot. So you have 4.5 minutes from wherever you're at to hear those bells and be right in here on the jump hole. 4 to 5 men would be in this jump hole. They'd all turn their back to the wall. Typically, the concussion of the blast is going to follow the oxygen, which is this way. You can feel it. So the concussion of the blast would basically come right down here. I've read accounts of the men enjoying the blast. Some of the men would get in there. Not only was it their break, but it was also a time they could have some idle chit chat. And then some of the men thought it was fun to feel the concussion or the blast go back by their backside. That was the thrill of the day. So again, that was their break, and a lot of the men enjoyed it because they were being paid to just sit there. And then when the dust settled, they'd go back to work. So if you've ever heard the term "when the dust settles," that's where it comes from.
Interesting.
We'll all get back to it when the dust settles. Here we have a honey pot. Anybody know what a honey pot is?
Where you put the crystals?
We put honey.
It's a restroom.
Oh dear.
So this is a men's restroom. The reason why we have a black powder box on top of it is that black powder box neutralizes the odor. So you would pour black powder into the honey pot, just like we light a match in the bathroom today. Same theory here. You pour black powder in, it neutralizes the odor. Now the funny part about this is the last man would have to take this out. So if you were the last man out of the mine, it was your responsibility to dump it. It smelled like a rotten egg. So if you've ever heard the term "last one out is a rotten egg," that's where that comes from, is the man in the mine who took the honey pot out to be empty. Not a fun job. So you never wanted to be the last man out. You'd hear those shaft bells signal the end of your shift, and you'd want to run out of here. For a lot of reasons. Light sensitivity issues were a big deal too. A lot of these guys didn't see daylight till they went to church with their families on Sunday.
Okay. All right. Much better.
So now we've eliminated the need to swing a sledgehammer over your partner's back. So what you've done here is you've got a pneumatic rifle, air gun. So this pneumatic gun will drill these holes nice and smooth. You'll see one right above here. You can put your hand in it and feel how smooth the hole is if you want to. There's a couple back here. Those holes are much smoother and much easier to clean out and takes a lot less time. So it solved a lot of problems. But just like anything, it created a lot of problems. You have to find a final answer to your experiment, and that would be to run water to this to tamp down the dust. The first man using this machine, it took 2 to 3 men to use it. It had a 15-inch travel and recoil. If one man were to let go, it'd knock him down. We called this the Widowmaker because it caused silicosis. First few years that they used this, they would breathe all the dust. They had no handkerchief or bandana or anything. Later on, we'll see men with a big circle around their bandanas. They were breathing the dust through it, and they have that clown smile on top of their bandana, and it's from breathing this dust. Our dust in here, because it's organic seabed, it's glass, it's sand. So you're basically breathing glass. If you've ever got fiberglass in your sensitive part of one of your body parts, imagine that being at the top of your respiratory system. That's what would happen to these guys. They would breathe it in. It would never travel to the lower respiratory system like black lung disease does today. It would go just stick right in the top, just like fiberglass does, right in the surface. So it would stick there. The only way to get it out was to go down to the hot baths at agua caliente. We called them blood baths. The doctor would mix your tuberculosis patients with your silicosis patients, thinking it was the same thing, consumption. They would cough on each other down in the blood baths down there. And basically, they'd all sit around and socialize and cough out their steam-loosened cough. And then most of the other guys that had silicosis would develop TB as well. So again, that's the reason why you see a lot of 38, 39, and less than 40-year-old men in our cemetery. And that's why you'll see that they were consumed. They died by consumption. So it was either consumption of fiberglass, liquor, opium, tuberculosis, disease, polio, Spanish flu in 1918. You think everything's rough with a pandemic now? Try then. No, thank you. Lot rougher. Again, we get angry at everything. If the drive-thru is too long, we're a little mad.
In and out.
Yeah. There you go. That's a perfect example. I want my double-double and one now. I'm walking in. I'm getting the app. I'm ordering in a line.
That's great.
Grubhub's going to bring it to me for $20.
Honey, I want to go.
Look, just go cheap it up. All right, so I'm going to squeeze by you guys here, and we're going to go down the end. welder on that? That's steel, it's not going anywhere. So here we are at the end. I had a gentleman on Tuesday's tour ask me, totally stumped me. I don't usually get stumped in question, but they asked me, why couldn't he dig that tunnel straight, right back? If it's only an access tunnel and there's no gold and there's no quartz schist, and you're just trying to get to the minor foreman schist, why couldn't you use all the natural light and get it straight? I still don't have an answer for you guys. He stumped me that day. I'm like, that's a good question, because it turns dark right after that first light bulb.
Yeah.
So you'd figure if you just went straight, you'd have about another 30 yards of sunlight that you could use. But I didn't, and I tried to read on Wednesday and Thursday night, and I have no idea why the tunnel goes like that. It might just be on accident. Same when you swim in a pool and you're not looking where you're going, or you have your eyes closed, and you don't have a lane, you kind of veer. I guess that's the same theory, but I haven't been able to find the true answer for that.